Yo, what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back for another ShoPowSho. I am Kuya P, the Tocino Terminator, the Longaniza lover, the leader of the Hala Hala homies in the Senna Gang Gang, and I'm holding it down with the amazing Ates. I love them so much. Cataphoric and Viva Valentina. What's up, ladies?
Hello. Enjoying some delicious, freshly fried lumpia. Fresh fried.
I need to have some shocker powers and go straight through it so I can cop some of that.
If you want to see how we put that together, check out our TikTok and for behind the scenes on our Patreon.
Yes, yeah, that's right, man. Yo, show our Patreon some love, y'all. Our coffee. You know, we do this for the people, but you know, it would help us out to, shave down some of our costs that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? We have to put some money up for our audios to go to iTunes and Spotify. So if you could show some love, we greatly appreciate it. Plus, you'll get some bonus content and hopefully some other stuff around in 2021. I'm working on it. Maybe some merch. We'll see. But we got a great one for you guys. This one, we're saying this could be easy because it's a regular friend, so it's not like somebody we don't know, but we're gonna be professional enough to hold him to to present him in his professional life because he's such an amazing guy. So it's gonna be very homey, but this guy is a superstar. Yeah, exactly. So
Phil has been a mentor to me and a big and a real kuya to me. Just in my professional journey and as a friend, and getting both of us involved locally in different projects and in the arts. So heart goes out to it. I'm really excited to introduce to you guys.
Share him with the world.
Yes,
right?
Share his talent and his vision with the world. So without further ado, Philip Odango.
Yeah! Woo woo! Air horns, bring it in. Brr, 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 brr. Let me bring it in here. There we go. Philip, we love you, bro. We love you so much, man.
Mabuhay sa lahat. Kumusta?
Yo, how are you?
I'm so
holding it down in COVID times right now, man.
I mean, the pandemic's got us all down, but we just keep rising with everything we do, and we just have to keep spreading the love and spreading positivity. And Nerds of Color and ShoPowSho have been really great in helping kind of illustrate that, we are going to keep going. We will keep persisting. Our existence is our resistance. And so we're going to keep on showing up, showing out, and showing pow. I mean, that's what it is.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
That's our guy right there. I love you, bro. Man, I miss you so much. Because as you all know, we all met through shows and conventions. And due to the dumpster fire that's 2020, we haven't been able to do that. But to do this right now virtually just means everything. So thank you for your time, man. Great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you three. I know Patrick, haven't seen you in quite a bit. And Kat and Viva, we just wrapped up a little project that we'll talk a little bit about. But I think that, the virtual world has really not only just brought us a little bit closer together, because I think there's conversations in virtual that sometimes are often we're not able to have in person because with conventions they're only few and far in between, but virtual allows us to kind of connect in deeper, more meaningful ways. I think that allows us to kind of broaden our reach with one another, and also kind of helps us to really think about what's important to us individually as people, as artists, as creators, and kind of what is that difference and what is that stand that we want to make in the world.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, Tina, hit him up.
So love to start off each interview with asking, where are you from, and where are your parents from, more specifically?
Great. Yeah. So I am a product of my ancestors. My parents are from the Philippines. My dad is from the Philippines in Mindanao, and my mother was from a town called San Jose in Occidental Mindoro. And I was actually born in San Jose, Occidental Mindoro. It's a little tiny town in Luzon, but I was born there in 1983, came over to the US in San Diego, where I learned how to speak English through a little program called Tiny Tots. And from there I went through the English as a second language program. and then ended up in Virginia because my father was in the military. And so his family ended up migrating from the Philippines to Virginia, where he has 11 brothers and sisters. So with him, they're 12. And so with the next generation, there's at least 22 of us first cousins.
Yeah.
You kind of lose track over time. But we've generally kind of settled around the East Coast area. And I am, thrilled to have siblings whom I keep in touch with. And among my siblings, my eldest sister and I are the ones who speak Tagalog fluently, since I was born in the Philippines, and I do have my dual citizenship. And so my experience as a Filipino American who immigrant, it has really kind of helped shape the way I kind of see the world and how I interact with people, and it's definitely affected how I approach my artwork as well.
How long were you in the Philippines before you came here, before you immigrated?
Yeah, so I was.
Do you recall Philippines at all?
Oh, absolutely. I still have a very clear memory since my family ventured back and forth. And so I grew up in an area that was pretty much a mango plantation. And so that was inherited land that was passed down from generations to generations. And my grandparents and their parents were all farmers. They grew rice, they grew mangoes, onions, sweet potatoes, and they made a living, their sustenance, from selling what they harvested. And for me, my memories of being a child in the Philippines, first immigrating to the U.S. at 2, then going back at 3, and then coming back at 6, is definitely running through the mango trees and getting to meet my cousins there. And there's just a certain smell in the Philippines, in the rural areas, the rural provinces, of burning wood, since people burn their trash there and they burn their wood. And there's just this certain smell that brings me back to knowing that I'm in the Philippines. So whenever I do get the chance to visit, it's that burning wood smell that is most prominent in my memories.
Wow, yeah, they do say that scent memory is supposed to be one of the strongest, recalling factors. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's definitely like when you kind of close your eyes and you kind of have that kind of moment where it feels like you're a bit displaced, out of time and place, and it kind of brings you back into this place of remembering like a part of you that we just carry with us as we go along. So now here in Virginia, every time there's like a fire, a house burning down in Ocean View or something, it's like, oh yeah, I remember my childhood in the Philippines.
That's beautiful. So when you stopped kind of moving back and forth and you were just residing in California, and then when you moved to Virginia, tell us a little bit about that story. Were you upset that you weren't traveling back and forth as much now? You were kind of just settled in Cali and then you moved to Virginia and there wasn't that much going back and forth? And how is that just kind of changing to the culture?
Yeah, the San Diego, California in general has like the largest Filipino population.
National city.
Yeah, there you go. And so because of immigration and military mostly, that has been an opportunity for a lot of Filipinos to immigrate to the U.S. To California, and then petition their loved ones to come on over to the United States. Very similar to how my family ended up in Norfolk, Virginia, and been able to petition all of my dad's siblings. So it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago when they finally brought over their remaining sibling. And that was a promise that they had kept to their own parents, that they would do their best to get all of their siblings united here in the U.S. So that was a big deal. So on my dad's side, their families were complete here in the U.S. On my mother's side, she has 6 brothers and sisters, and she's also the eldest. And so for her journey, she was the only one to make it to the United States. And so as the eldest, leaving behind her family and her responsibilities to join, and create a new life here in the U.S., it's definitely a a journey that was bold and definitely impacts me as I think about what other journeys that I want to pursue in my life.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's talk about now growing up in Virginia. How old were you when you moved to Virginia?
I was in Virginia, and I think starting 1988. It was 1988. Picture it, Norfolk, Virginia, 1988. It was a blizzard, a winter blizzard. My first time seeing snow.
Oh,
and
wow.
and there are maybe mountainous parts in the Philippines that may have gotten snow, but because it's equatorial, not really. But seeing snow for the first time in 1988 was amazing, but also happened to be a blizzard, so I got to see a lot of snow in America. But it was that feeling of making your first snow angel, and being able to wear the thick clothes. I think that was just a moment in time that was just really kind of cool. But then growing up and then going through kind of a kindergarten through first grade, I did go through a lot of prejudice as someone who spoke only Tagalog, and having had to learn, English as a single language, starting in California and then continuing that in here in Virginia. It was definitely a journey of losing my accent. It was very a purposeful time of trying to assimilate, trying to carve an identity of my own, but just like the others. And so it's trying to that for a long time growing up, like I wish that I remember having just kind of mental struggles of wanting to be white. I wanted to be like the white kids. I wanted to be like the other kids that I had a lot of self-hate growing up, thinking that I wasn't going to be good enough because I'm always going to be othered, whether I'm on a school bus or I'm in the classroom, that I'm the other. So a lot of that helped inform my perspective, an outsider's perspective, looking in on kind of what is, from the artistic perspective of what is good or what is acceptable or, what is considered beauty, in many ways. So it helped shape my just approach to as an artist, and helping kind of discover within myself my own artistic expression and helping others kind of discover their own creative self-expression.
So
when did that all start for you?
Yeah.
Were you always an artist? Were you always an actor? I know we didn't talk too much about the things that you do now, which we'll get to, but when did it all start?
I think for me, my journey as a independent artist really, began in elementary school. I had the opportunity to do a lot of like finger painting on the windows whenever we had kind of holidays, and they would do like classroom activities, and it was just discovering a joy of being able to do tactile, type of art, and that translated into also doing drawings and illustrations. And I remember the time when I was 10 or 12 years old, when I was attending a gifted program here in Norfolk, Virginia. I ended up in the newspaper because I drew, an illustration that was very similar to like a Gary Larson, type of. But for me, it's always been that just passion of being able to just create my own worlds and be able to do that through the medium of different art forms. So it started very, very young. I think my mind has always been attracted to how things come together, how things are different. I've always been fascinated by, like Mousetrap, those type of games where it's like, if you move this, it affects this. So I think my mind has always been formed to think that way, kind of creating order out of chaos. And I think that's always been something that's interested me as an artist. So growing up, it was illustration, it was charcoal art, it was working with pastels. Then it became digital work, graphic design, video editing, and then also translated into the physical with theater. Eventually, being able to become a kind of a self-produced director, and forming my own theater company and working with incredible artists and other directors and other producers. So there's always been this feeling of visual storytelling. And if I were to classify myself in that sense, it would be a journey of human connective visual storytelling.
It's been really interesting, I guess, for me to just interject for a second, because you and I met a long time ago during when we were both involved in theater with Old Dominion University, and just through virtue of being in this area, being Filipino, having similar friends, we just kind of kept touching base throughout the years, and it was like always a different creative process with you. First it was theater, and then it was creating theater, and then it became, the visual representation with the cosplay and costuming, and now just, whoo. And so it's been from a sideline view, it's been awesome watching you go through that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I remember it was just most recently. I was like, wait a minute. I think I worked with Kat. She was my stage manager for a play that I was acting in. It was like 15 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how old we're getting. But but yeah, no. I think it is that journey of kind of a human experience, exploration of it, kind of a deconstruction of it, putting it back together in different ways, juxtaposition. I think it's from that aesthetic, artistic mindset of creation and destruction, and then kind of a creation again, like creating something. And I feel like that as a Filipino who became a Filipino American, who became a dual citizen, it is that sense of identity of deconstructing, then reconstructing, then deconstructing that again to become who you are and who you're meant to be.
Oh, what a beautiful parallel.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Kuya P.
Oh, no worries. No worries. That was all beautiful. I'm not, just let them speak. I love it. So Philip, one of the questions I kind of had going along with Kat and Tina was, so by virtue of what you're saying, art was kind of your way of dealing with some of the racism that you were experiencing as a kid. So you kind of, I know, because I'm just kind of from seeing that from that standpoint, because that's what I did. I turned the things that I was feeling and just put myself and created my own world, so I wouldn't have to deal with the outside world that was pushing me down. And so that's what kind of blew up my creativity. So was that the same for you? And were you able to go to someone? Did you talk to your parents about the racism you were experiencing, or auntie, uncle, Tito? How was that for you?
Yeah, what's interesting is that I think my worldview of what the world is in my mind and what the world is from their perspectives and what the world is based on the news, is, I think it was really, really greatly shaped by my mom's own experience of becoming a public school teacher. Mm-hmm. So she spent 12, 13 years as an educator and retiring as a special education teacher from Woodrow Wilson High School.
Yes, I had the privilege of working with Philip's mom and had no clue that this was the same Odango. But I want to tell you, I loved working with your mom. Like, as a special education teacher, generally speaking, their students, or at least in our school system, were kind of scattered throughout the classroom. So I didn't necessarily work with her all the time, but I know that when her name came up as a teacher who would be working with me, so I was like, yes. She was just very passionate about what she did. She obviously cared about the kids. She did it. She was all the things that a teacher should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. When she started her journey as an educator, it started in the Philippines, teaching college chemistry and English. And then when she met my dad and emigrated to the U.S., unfortunately, the way that the credit system works with graduate credits in graduate school, like, they didn't accept her graduate school transfer credits. And so when she first got here, it's very much homemaker, raising the kids, pretty much whatever the worldview is whatever my dad says and whatever the news says. However, as she came into her own and wanting to teach again, now that the kids are growing up and growing out and trying to reconnect with her own passions as an educator, she found an ad in the newspaper, back when people read actual classified ads, for a Pathways to Teaching program that allowed her to become a teacher. And her job as a teacher started with being a lunch lady. Like her advisor at the time advised her that you just need to get your foot in the door. Just get your foot in the door, get in the system, and then kind of work your way up there. So she always surprised her siblings when they were asking, so how did you become a teacher? It's like, well, I had to become a lunch lady first. They couldn't believe it. That she started as a lunch lady and then became a kind of a substitute teacher, and then became like a room assistant, then became a teacher's assistant, and eventually, as she was retaking classes at TCC, Tidewater Community College, and ODU again to get her certification, it's like a restarting her own journey as an educator. And then finally getting to the point which you can finally teach and have a classroom. It was really a change of my parents' perception of what an American teenager is. Because conceptually, an American teenager, from the eyes of immigrants, like they're disrespectful, like they've got their own mind, that they're like hooligans, like they're soplado, like they're rude. And so their worldview is what they see on television, is what, however, as my mom became more and more engaged with her students and seeing, adolescence and young adult life for kind of what it is, it was a change of heart, change of mindset for her that reflected into how she raised us as well. So, starting off very, very strict and conservative, but becoming more and more understanding as she progressed in her own journey as an educator, and working on IEPs and having to deal with parents and dealing with the struggles in the classroom, and having to and she was older when she decided to go teach again. She was already in her 50s when she decided that she wanted to resume her passion for teaching. So by the time she retired at 64, she was still like staying up until 2 a.m. grading papers, doing IEPs, and having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive from Norfolk and go down that kind of crazy 264, to get to Portsmouth and through the tunnels. And at some point it's like, Mom, I don't know, like you're like, you're only getting 3 hours of sleep. But she was so passionate about, her wanting to express herself as an educator, and she was just very proud of it. And that made me really proud of her and her way of approaching kind of circumstances that she had to face. And then for me as an artist, as a person coming into my own, being able to look at it with grace, and be able to look at it with self-fortitude, and if I really want it, to enjoy the process and to enjoy life while we have it.
Yes. So you grew up, in Virginia, learning American history like we all did. But how did you learn about Filipino history in our culture? You're in Filipino land in Virginia Beach, you guys. Yeah. I'm here in DC. So, but I grew up, military base. But so, like, how did you connect with our culture and learn? They joke on me because I told them I had to go through America Online and internet, and they're like, it's AOL, it's not America Online. So,
no, I'm that old. Yeah, we're talking Encarta on a CD, on floppy disk.
Oh no!
We are talking Encarta on a floppy disk. Mavis Beacon teaches typing. So no, I think for me, like learning about Filipino history and Filipino culture has always been kind of ingrained within my journey. Just coming from a small province and coming to America, I was involved at a young age with the CUFOT organization here, which is the Filipino Ilocano organization. I've had a cousin who competed in Little Miss Philippines, so I think my family has been really connected with the Filipino community here, and still very much connected. In high school, I was a recipient of a scholarship with the UIAT, which is the Ilocano Association of Tidewater. And ironically enough, it's like I'm still involved with the Filipino culture in my life through the Philippine Cultural Center in Virginia Beach. So
Corner from there.
yeah, and part of my one of my many hats that I wear is I work in community engagement with in theater with the Virginia Stage Company, and we've had a great opportunity in the last couple of years to engage our young Filipino artists and performers through a kind of a stage production of The Tempest by William Shakespeare, in which the community group of dancers and artists and costume designers from the School of Creative and Performing Arts of the Philippine Cultural Center collaborated with developing choreography and the look of the singkil, which is a Philippine traditional dance between a prince and a princess. And it was included as part of the overall presentation of The Tempest. And it was very beautiful. And I know that there were many attendees of Asian descent, Asian heritage who watched that performance and felt like they a connection to it. So, which is a rewarding part of what I do. And currently, we are engaging with the Philippine Cultural Center again, this time on a different hat with Operation Smile in Virginia Beach, which is a global medical organization that provides free surgery for cleft lip and cleft palate. And I'm working with the School of Creative Performing Arts, in which they are going to be designing a jeepney that's going to be inside of Operation Smile's headquarters to be completed by spring of 2021.
Wow.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and it's going to be fully functional. You go in, get a photo op, you learn about the journey of patients in the Philippines who live in remote areas who don't have access to safe surgery as they get on the bus, get on the jeepney, and travel to an Operation Smile medical mission to be evaluated and hopefully receive surgery for their cleft lip and cleft palate.
Oh, that's a great, yeah, that's a really great cause.
Okay, ShoPowSho special coming in 2021. We're gonna go join Philip and go.
Yeah, live from the jeepney in our Interactive Learning Center.
Seriously, yeah. I'll drive down there. I'll do that.
Yeah, it's a worthy cause of support for sure.
Yes. So Philip, let's get back into art, and then before you went off to college, with a lot of us young Filipinos that want to become artists, sometimes we don't. Our parents don't want you to do that. They want you to become a doctor or a lawyer. How was it with your parents and them, and you making that decision to the degree and the school you wanted to go to? How supportive were they in that artistic journey of yours?
I think what's interesting is that because, my father was in the military and, mother being in education and academia, is that it wasn't so much of I needed to get a specific degree. I think it was more of a mandate from my grandparents to just do our best. And it wasn't so much that they dissuaded me from pursuing art or pursuing a career in that path. I think it was more of an insistence that whatever it is that we kind of choose to pursue, to do it with excellence. And me being an immigrant coming to America and having my formative years here as an adolescent and then as a young adult, looking to pursue my own dreams, because I've been so multi-interested in all kinds of things. I think it was very hard for me to just decide on being just one thing, on just being one, type of person, which kind of contrasts, my dad's military career when you have, you're so regimented and you've got, a path laid out for you. So between, him and I, he's always supported when, I went off to debate tournaments, to my forensics tournaments, whenever I had one act festivals. And it wasn't much of a matter of why are you doing this, is you're doing too much. And I think that's just more of me being an overachiever, also being in the international baccalaureate program in high school and, wanting to do all the things and eventually becoming the class president senior year, it's like I've always been interested in doing a lot. And I think it was just more of my parents saying, you need to slow down and sleep. When do you sleep? But I think, they never dissuaded me from pursuing what it is that I wanted to be or to do. It's just to do it well and to do it with, passion and integrity. And then I eventually went to school at ODU and finished my undergrad in psychology because I really couldn't decide on what I wanted to actually do. So I figured if I don't know what is happening, to my life outside the world, maybe I can study what's the world inside and create, those sort of experiences within myself. And eventually finishing a grad program in sustainable business strategy and working now as a consultant in many, many forms, whether it's as a business consultant, as a public relations consultant, cosplay consultant. I've kind of taken that into a level of being able to be a creative consultant for all kinds of things. So, which I think is still the same. I could still, imagine my mom saying, all right, like, step back and evaluate what it is that you want to do and just do it well.
That's awesome. You have such an incredible professional journey that I really want to deep dive more into that. I want you to tell that full story. Like we keep getting like glimpses of like, yeah. Oh yes, and then I did this, and I did a little bit of this, and now I do this, and it's like, tell us more. Tell us, what do you do, Philip?
I think the question I ask myself is, if this were my last day, on Earth, and this was the last conversation that I'm going to have, and this is my opportunity to tell my story, what would it be? And I think it is a story of reuniting with the other, reuniting with the others. I think that I've kind of expressed a journey of my multiple possibilities. And I think that is my journey. My journey is to express as many of my possibilities as possible. Whether it is a coffee shop owner, whether it's a theater director, or making puppets, or, like making swords, out of foam, or teaching makeup classes or sewing classes, or, getting a little art studio. I think it is a desire, a mandate from within to express as much as I can so that when it is my time, I will have fully utilized all of my senses, all of my faculty, all of my abilities to the best of my ability. And I can look back and say, I think I did okay.
So good. I love it. All right. I want to flip it though. You know what? Let's do devil's advocate because such positive energy. What do you do? Tell us about those struggles and what did you do to overcome them? And what would you suggest to people that are finding themselves on the other end of the spectrum?
I think what's interesting is that at 37 now, I'm still finding myself. I think it's been a journey of trying to get like that extra bullet on my LinkedIn profile. It's whenever we talk about like, updating our resume, updating our LinkedIn, it's almost always like, we're trying to hit an achievement like that, increase sales by 150%, and then when you start looking at that, from an artistic perspective, like that barometer or that bullet point, is so different from you looking at it from like a business, tangential, transactional perspective. Increased sword making by 200%. Like, and sometimes we get caught in this trap of trying to measure our output, and our outcomes, and comparing that with our kind of the feeling of the vision that we have inside, for ourselves. And sometimes we get trapped in that, like, I only have this much time left, or, I'm behind. I feel like I can't compete with other people, or that I can't, I'm never going to be this good, or I'm never going to get this sort of reach, or my followers are this, that, the other. And there is that sense of weird artistry versus tenacity versus metrics. And we get caught in this kind of windstorm that affects us emotionally and mentally, that we feel like that either we're the best or we're the worst. Like there's no forgiveness in between. And I think that is that journey of grace and forgiveness within ourselves, that, you know, that we need to be able to stand up as many times as we fall down. You know, however many rungs on a ladder that we fall down off of, let's climb that ladder and then take that next step up. That's being able to get up and off and out higher. It's a competition within ourselves versus trying to compete with other people's universes. I think we sometimes forget that we create our own universes, that every day when we wake up, we have an opportunity to create a whole new universe. And what I've found living in Hampton Roads and in Norfolk, just how much impact I myself have had with companies like across the world. And to think that every time I have an opportunity to do something to help elevate, extend that opportunity to other people, help them with their, you know, struggles, and help them with their kind of career goals and pathways, that it's a universal impact and not just a selfish one. And I think, you know, for those who are kind of struggling internally of, you know, should I give up my day job, or should I, you know, just do this completely, or should I just, you know, completely forget about pursuing my art because we're in a pandemic and it would be stupid. You know, I think that that's where we can't compare our journeys with each other, in the sense of what are those kind of the key indicators of success. Mm-hmm. You know, it's being able to go to bed at night, 3 a.m., 5 o'clock, whenever you go to bed, and be able to say, you know what, I did the best for myself that I could, and that tomorrow I'm going to do even better for myself. I'm going to prove to myself, for myself, that this is my journey. And that when I do encounter people who are on a similar pathway, similar journey, we're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate it together. We're going to find ways of collaborating together and raise each other up. Now, I'll tell you about a struggle that I'm still kind of working through, is because of that sense of wanting to help other people. Sometimes I don't allow myself to celebrate the tide that's coming in for me. That, you know, there's this concept of, you know, rising tide lifts all boats. And sometimes, you know, I myself get caught in the sense of like, well, I'm going to use that tide and I'm going to raise everyone else's tide. Then I realize that now that everyone's tide is raised, they're all floating away and I'm just waving by, right? I forget to, you know, take a little bit to honor myself, take a little bit of that tide and say, you know what, let me hold on to this tide. It's okay. This is my tide, you know, and you know what, my tide has come and I'm going to embrace that. And I think that's something that I'm still learning, is that it's okay to embrace my own tide. And then so like when we all start to float and when we're heading out in different directions, I can feel like I did myself my own grace and gave myself enough of a groundswell to feel like I can share in that too.
Okay, I'm gonna call Tina out. What she wrote in her journal was main character shit. And the reason I'm doing it is because one of the things that I love about you, and I think all of us love about you, is that how like confident, but like grounded your confidence is. You know what I mean? Like your confidence always comes from a place of being like certain of your capabilities and your limits. And how would you, I mean, obviously this is something that you got through on a personal journey through a lot of work, but what kind of advice could you give somebody else who's struggling to be the main character? Like we should think of ourselves as like the main character, but so many of us don't. Like, how do you, sorry, I won't do that anymore, but I was like, that's a really good segue. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, like how does a sidekick become a hero in their own story, right? I think, you know, part of it is realizing that that you're living your own story, and that I don't know. I think it's too abrupt to just say be the primary character. You know, don't be an NPC. like I think it's too easy to do that when some people just aren't ready to do that, or they're not prepared, or they haven't given themselves permission to do that. But also parallel to that is that they haven't given themselves permission to fail. That they haven't given themselves permission to do that side quest, to use that kind of random kind of creepy weapon that you're not really sure about, like sometimes people are just so stuck with they have to be completely 100% ready, to do something that they're not agile enough to adapt, that they have to have everything in place properly, like in the books, by the books, or else they won't do it. And it's that failure to start, I think, that stymies a lot of people, creatives as well. Like, I want to, like, there's some artists who like, I want to do an exhibition, but I need 12 pieces and they have to be perfect and I have to use the right materials and the right, right contacts. And if I don't have all of that, then I can't do this, right? And so I think that's where they will forever be stuck as a kind of a sidekick to another artist who has given themselves permission and given themselves the opportunity to fail, and have learned from those failures and were able to do their exhibition. So I think there is that, that challenge internally where, that we have to overcome that fear of failure, in order to become that weather beaten, like, main character who gets that arc, who discovers their hubris, who discovers their failures, and they rise up, and they complete that cycle, or else you're forever going to be, just the sidekick who's the pack mule, for someone else's journey. But pack mules are cool, don't get me wrong, but the pack mule has to want to be able to carry their own weapons, their own their tools. Yeah, they have to want to do it. So starting with wanting to do it, and rather than waiting for the next primary hero to come along and say, "Hey, Pack Mule, come join me," it's like, no, Pack Mule is going to be like, you know what? I'm Mr. Pack Mule. And I'm going to do this. This is my journey, and you just happen to be a hero, on my side quest. So yeah, so for anyone who's kind of struggling with the feeling of trying to get started, don't be afraid to fail, because next day you get a whole new opportunity to reboot it, and I think it's going to be okay.
Philip, you are a superstar artist in a lot of different mediums, but the medium I met you in was, or Pokemon Evolution, that period that I met you in was as a cosplayer, Canvas Cosplay, and met you as Poe, who I just wanted to take you home with me because you were it, man. I loved it. So question I have is, what is your favorite cosplay you've ever done, and what is your most difficult one that you kind of don't want to do because it's so difficult to get into the costume or whatever? Just kind of personal question for me, because I love you as a cosplayer. You're amazing. You're just amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. One of the kind of ingredients about my cosplay portfolio, so to speak, is that each character that I pick, there's something representative of myself in there. So I kind of mentioned how, like, in my professional life, I've kind of chosen different pathways that represent my different possibilities. I've chosen that as well in my cosplays. So each of the characters that I have specifically chosen to portray all represent a figment of myself. So with Poe, he goes through this journey of uncertainty, right? Like, he's going to become this great hero, but all he wants to do is just kind of eat dumplings and, do his Poe things and be a panda. But for me, that also represented myself too. This idea that I admire these heroes, I admire these people who do it. I couldn't imagine being that, type of hero one day. So you go back to Cat, it's like, he goes from like this, just kind of everyday shuffling, noodles and, dumplings, and just being a background character and kind of discovering the power within. And that's a cool aspect that I relate to, which is why I chose Poe for that one. But to answer Patrick's question about the most difficult cosplay that I've only worn twice, is Lubu from Dynasty Warriors.
Mhm.
It was actually really hard to make because he had chest armor, he got his giant dragon pauldron, like top to bottom, and he's got these 12-foot long, hair, feather helmet. It was it's made out of warbler, so everything was just heavy and complicated. But I loved him because he is a demon on the battlefield. For me, Lubu represents that certain anger and just badassery that I wish I had every single day. That he can just be the one that it just kind of rolls in and commands the room, and just be a boss. I mean, he's a boss dude, but he's also so hard to wear. In terms of a costume. So I've only worn him twice. Once at Katsucon and then once at C2E2. Did it for the photos, and that was it. But I felt pretty badass wearing Lubu, and so I enjoyed making him, wearing him twice, and then namaste, Marie Kondo, you brought me joy. Yeah. Now the fun one that I've enjoyed wearing, which was also difficult, was Maui from Disney's Moana. I remember that was kind of like the cosplay that really kind of blew up, for me. And I think part of it was kismet. It was kind of right time, right place, and but it was also it involved a lot of my own personal artistry, doing the hand illustrations, sewing all the tea leaves, and just honoring the kind of the overall look, the Disney character, but also the Polynesian deity. And I remember being a guest at HawaiiCon, and Tamura Morrison, who Boba Fett, he was also a guest, and he had come up right behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, and then he looked at me and he says, "You honor our ancestors." So I could have just died right there. With
that is the way.
Yeah. So for him, that was like a full circle for me. And I was able to tour the world with Maui. He got to go see all the places that a demigod would go. And he embodied within me that kind of a bit of a bravado, a bit of that fun spirit, mischievous spirit. But I got to meet the animators behind Moana and the directors as well at D23 convention in Anaheim. And it was just a really wonderful experience to be part of that. And while in Hawaii, I had a tattoo of Minnie Maui on my shoulder, done to kind of cement our relationship even more. But yeah, he definitely represents that Polynesian part of me, which according to Ancestry DNA, somewhere in my bloodline, some people from Tonga swam over to the Philippines and it influenced my blood journey. So it was great to kind of explore part of that aspect of myself as well.
That's great. So how did you kind of start to transition to less of, because Maui really just kind of took over for a while. I mean, that was a lot for you. How did you kind of start to transition into different parts of your artistry, like your artistic journey from there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Maui was a great, journey for me. Like I did over 50 events as Maui, which was a lot. I mean, I carried around a 20-pound hook that I made, and it's like, oh my God, why did I make this? What are the, choices, man. Like, why did I do this to myself? And I think for me, what I realized is I still had more kind of aspects of myself I wanted to discover and to create and to manifest out into this matrix reality. And so for me, it was like, okay, all right, let me take a step back and let me think about what it is that I do enjoy. And what I do enjoy is kind of spreading the passion and spreading interest, technical skills, more vocational area of sewing and of crafting. And so I had started a kind of Bros Who Sew campaign on social to kind of create some outreach to male sewists and trying to see who's out there who are dudes who are just in their sewing machines, or they don't have to be cisgendered, men. It could be non-binary as well, but those who identify as men, and sewing, and trying to bridge that gap of concept between, sewing. I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, it was this concept of men do armor and women do gowns, and now that has totally shifted in the last several years, and which is wonderful. And so I've kind of transitioned more into a teaching type role. I've had a great opportunity to teach some classes over at 757 Makerspace, over at the Slover Maker Studio, Creative Studio. I've taught some classes over at Virginia Wesleyan University. So wonderful opportunity to share what I do, share my craft. And now we've got some online teaching opportunities as well. So be able to extend my passion for what it is that I do craft and do create, and help empower other people trying to do the same.
I love it. I love it. And I don't know if it was before we started up or during earlier, but you have this amazing art project that you as of shooting this, you already put out some pictures with Desi, and we have our pal Maurice, and you also worked with Kat and Tina. Just some of the other projects you have coming out right now that you're expressing your creativity in, that I'd like to talk about and shine lights on.
Yeah, absolutely. So what the most recent project that I actually am still working on, I'm still in the middle of the campaign, is that I've been working closely with Joanne Fabrics on their Handmade Holidays campaign. And the idea is that during the pandemic, times have changed where, we really can't gather as much anymore. And we kind of go back to the sense of how do we stay connected? And, one of the ways that people have stayed connected throughout the years and generations is storytelling. And one of the kind of greatest stories around Christmas is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And I wanted to approach this from a perspective of, Christmas Carol based in London, Victorian era. And we pretty much know that story of redemption of a man who endured trauma in his past and discovered the error of his ways and vows to be a better person. And the device that's used in the story are these spirits, these ghosts that appear and kind of shine the light, illuminate to Ebenezer Scrooge, the past, the present, and what could be if he doesn't change. And I really wanted to approach that from a multicultural approach. And so what we'll see, and what you will see by the time this podcast airs, is taking inspiration from my model's ethnic heritage and using those influences in forming their costume design. So this is a project where it's not about cosplay, but actual costume design. And in this particular campaign mini collection, Christmas Past will be represented by Desi's Sicilian heritage. So we will be meeting the influence of the Santa Lucia, St. Lucy, which is celebrated throughout Italy and Scandinavia. With Maurice, he'll be representing the ghost of Christmas Present, which harkens to his heritage from Africa. And you'll be seeing colors and textures and prints reminiscent of African royalty. And then you'll be meeting the Christmas future, the ghost of things yet to come. And it will be represented through our friend Tanya's Korean heritage, where I did the research and patterning of an authentic Korean hanbok with the wig and also the nul, which is the veil. And it is all appropriate to the Joseon period in Korea, which happens to be the same period as the Victorian era in London. So it's parallel to the timeline. And with this particular project, it's highlighting that the humility, humanity, and our capacity for change transcends beyond just any one particular region of the world, that we all have an opportunity to share in that storytelling of change and redemption. So I'm really excited to roll out the Ghost of Christmas Present and the Ghost of Christmas Future in the next couple of days. And both Viva Valentina and Kat Forik were instrumental in being on set and also here in the studio the night prior in helping fit and dress and get these ghosts to look poppin' for the photo shoot with NH Media with Brett. So definitely appreciate Viva Valentina and Kat Forik and with NH Media, and also partners over at the Hunter House Victorian Museum for giving us a wonderful backdrop and location to shoot, and also to Marriott Bonvoy for support. And so really excited to share those editorial photos the next couple of days. And I will be working with both Kat Forik and Viva Valentina on some Philippine-inspired characters that will be put into costume. And I'm going to be pulling into another fictional universe inspired by C.S. Lewis. So we can talk a little bit about that too.
I'm so excited. We're so excited about this. Yeah, breaking news.
For me, like, can we get a cameraman to film all this so we can make a special ShoPow special? Hello.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, so one of my favorite nerd things, absolutely, that I kind of grew up on escapism was kind of my version of the Harry Potter universe growing up is the Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, yes, before the Harry Potter, yes.
Yeah. So that was my escape. That was my wardrobe. Like going into it and going through whole different worlds. And one of the books in that series is The Magician's Nephew, where we explore the Jadis, the White Witch, her origin story before she became the villain in the Narnia series. So this is almost like a prequel of Narnia, of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and we get to meet not only Jadis when she was in a different dimension, but we also get to meet Jadis's rival queen sister. So I'm going to be designing custom costume designs for both Viva Valentina and Kat Forik to pit them against each other as the rival queen witch sisters.
Love this.
Yeah. Which means I gotta get going because I gotta shoot this next month. So and so yeah, there's a blank slate right there where I'll be building out Filipina inspired outfits for the two of them. One will be influenced by the Spanish Maria Clara design, which is traditionally worn by Spanish royalty and influenced during the Spanish monarchy in the Philippines. And the other one will be influenced by the Muslim princess design that is kind of worn during Singkil, during Tinikling, during the occupation, which is largely worn in Mindanao. So you'll see two different Philippine royalty-inspired looks worn by our rival sister queen witches.
I'm so excited about this. I'm also super nervous because I've never done anything like this before. Like, Viva is a champion, world-famous cosplayer. But I'm definitely more comfortable behind the scenes. And so this is really outside of my comfort zone in just the best way. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, it's going to be super, super fun because I don't think these two sisters have been represented before, like together in popular media. So this will be the first time that we're going to meet these two sisters together, and hopefully some sort of like forest battle a la, Crouching Tiger, style.
Martial arts, because that's one of our bingo cards.
Oh, martial arts, yeah. Yeah, a little wushu, some sleeve action, a little Gong Li inspiration, So yeah, I'm excited to help bring it to life, and can't wait for you all to transform into it. And what's fun is that Jada's sister is unnamed.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a name. So this might be an opportunity for us to come up with a name. You know, maybe it could be a poll. We can ask our listeners. You know,
Yeah.
what should Jadis's name be?
This is
Sister's name be?
Oh, I love this.
I am super excited. We have to promote the heck out of this and collab with this because it's the Ates and Philip. Man, I am so excited. I love it. My mind is blown because I didn't know anything about this. Like, what? The
It's
Ates and my boy
exclusive.
Phil? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so remember they were the production assistants to this last shoot, so now they're the stars. You know,
I love
of
it.
this
Well, I
one.
have to
So-
get dressed myself.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if our ghosts are willing to help us out. You know.
No worries. Hey.
Yeah. Hey. So I gotta shoot.
I love it. I love it.
So really excited to bring those worlds together.
Absolutely, yeah. Super excited to be a
Wow.
part of it.
I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you both. And Phil, like, I love this. This is so cool. Man. Ugh. Yes. Is there any other projects before we do our last check question and let you go? But is there any other projects that you can talk about without giving away too much and that you want to put out there
For your
before we
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to say that it's been really fascinating being an independent artist, being an artist who works in theater, and being an artist who works as a project manager. Just kind of, having multiple things going on during a pandemic when, people are losing their jobs, losing their gigs, losing, all kinds of opportunities. And I think, what I've found that in this time, I think sometimes opportunities just kind of come out in ways where you're sometimes unprepared for, and I'm just really grateful for for those partners and sponsors and artists who are willing to play and just try to continue to try to make art with whatever medium or way that that is, and hopefully I can continue doing that with local artists and helping promote local artisans and keep continuing those collaborations. So by March we're going to have the interactive learning center at Operation Smile hopefully open, pending COVID, and it'll be a great experience to be able to walk through the journey through the eyes of a child, a patient who's looking to receive surgery, and we'll be exploring the Philippines. We'll be exploring the outside of a Filipino home and going inside a Filipino hut and going onto a jeepney. So that's going to be very exciting to experience, and I can't wait for you all to be part of it. There'll be some photo shoot opportunities,
Yeah,
inside
keep us
the hut,
posted.
inside the house. Absolutely, you'll definitely hear more about that. And I will also be having some future classes as well virtually, which I'll be excited to share more about once those dates are confirmed. But continuing my journey as a teaching artist, and I'm really looking forward to creating this Narnia universe with our Ates here. And hopefully when the convention world eventually opens back up, we're able to kind of gather again and do this in real life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So are you still cosplay? So when we can, are you planning to cosplay? Are you still, because I know you're transitioning as an artist and reaching out now for educational stuff. But have we seen the last cosplay of Philip dressing up and everything?
Patrick really wants to see more cosplay. For
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because I love Philip. Philip
absolutely.
is my everything. You're like you know what? I'll say it. You are my favorite male cosplayer.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very
Yes.
much. No, I think thank you.
If you
No, I
claim
really
male or
do
whatever,
appreciate that.
pronouns, I'm still learning that. And but I love you, Philip. I love you.
Mahal kita. I think for me, I don't think we've seen the last of me cosplaying. I think that in this particular journey of extending outside of myself, there's a lot of I don't know, like I would say fulfillment that I've been finding a lot of kind of Marie Kondo joy of like taking a risk of designing for other people, because when you're designing for yourself, it's like, all right, you can skimp on this, skimp on that, but when you're working with other models and other artists, it's like you want to uh, honor their journeys, you want to honor their paths and heritages, and their thoughts as as creatives as well. And so for me, that is such a fun experience. I'm looking to see where that continues to go and to grow. And who knows, maybe I will cosplay within that group as well. So I think you haven't seen the last of me in cosplay, and can't wait to see what other personalities of myself are just itching to get out.
Awesome. I think that brings us to our last section for our interviews, which is our nerd check. So if you have to give a TED talk on any nerdy topic that you are passionate about, what are you going to tell us about?
I will tell you about Narnia. I will tell you about how they got there, how the world was created, all of it.
I love a good C.S. Lewis. That series is very near and dear to me. So I was very excited to hear about what you have planned.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis and how he was part of this little Skulls and Bones type society with other prominent authors during that time when the world was changing, Industrial Revolution, World Wars, and how that has really impacted our approach in literature nowadays.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I was kind of talking about this a little bit when you first mentioned that you were doing this, about how the C.S. Lewis Narnia series is this great mix of both like progressive feminist and also anti-feminist sentiment. Where, I mean, we have as a main character from the jump, we have Lucy, and she's the one that's, outspoken. She's the person who is correct, but she's still flawed, and, just a really good protagonist. But then we end with this, Susan giving up heaven for lipstick and nylons. And it's just, I love that. I love the series and all its contradictions.
Absolutely. And Neil Gaiman does such a really great
I love that
book on the problem of Susan.
Yes.
And so I don't know, maybe Susan has grandchildren and great grandchildren. Maybe there's a present day connection where they rediscover the green and gold rings and find a way back into whatever that hasn't been created yet. So and there's also conspiracy theories about Professor Andrews' kind of mysterious kind of godmother, Mrs. LaFay. So is she the sister of Jadis? Did she escape? I don't know.
Oh, I love this. All right, I'm signing up for this TED Talk. Let's go.
That's awesome. Oh, Phil, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out to chit chat with us. And I feel like we just saw you, in person, but just to deep dive into your story and to talk about things to come and all that. It's really been a treat. So
I always love talking to you. I always feel so inspired. Yes,
all the time. Like whenever I'm feeling like crazy, when I'm feeling like, what am I doing? Like I'm always just like, Phil, help! Like talk me off of a ledge here. So
yeah, I know. I'm so happy that you all are part of my journey as well. I get so much, so much out of this, out of you all, and what you all bring to my life. So I'm very selfish that way, and in which I love having your energy, your stories, as part of mine. Like I love being the sidekick to this show. I love it. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, when our friends get their superpowers on December 21st,
right?
I'm ready to be that sidekick. So thank you all for being part of my journey as well, and definitely I'm going to be working potentially on a Poe upgrade in the future when the time is right. So, maybe you'll see Poe on the show Pow.
Hey,
ShoPow.
Yeah.
Show in the future. I got to make a whole new fupa for it. So
that reminds me. That reminds, there's something I want to talk to you about that I forgot, but I'm gonna save it for later because we're winding down. But yes, okay. Love it. Thank you, Phil. We appreciate you so much. We're going to talk about you now in our outro. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Salamat. Maganda.
Salamat. Mahal kita. All right. There you go. We've been blessed from the light that is Philip Odango, good friend. And just every time he talks, right? It just feels so good.
He's so inspiring. Like I said, he's been a mentor to me for many years now. And it's amazing to see his journey. Like I never heard that story that you had met him before.
Yeah.
I feel like you've mentioned it before, but like I didn't realize that you guys have actually worked together.
Yeah, it's just been really interesting because and you know this is one of those things where it's like the moral of the story that I'm about to tell is like, don't let other people tell you what's important to you, because Philip and I met at ODU and neither of us were theater majors. He was a major in psychology and I was a major for English. I actually minored in psychology and then I took a few like elective theater courses. And at one point there were some theater courses that were a little like smaller group, like directing and stuff like that. And like the higher tier ones. And people would tell me, don't take those classes. Like, you're not a theater major. You're not going to get anything out of it. Like, this isn't for you. And so I listened and I didn't take any of those courses. And then fast forward a couple years later, I'm working in public schools and I am a full-time English teacher, but I'm also the drama coach and I'm the forensics coach. And I have no clue what I'm doing because I didn't take those classes. And then who do I run into who's doing community outreach for theater? It's Philip. And so we have like all this, you know, he was a great mentor to me too, but that was one of those experiences where it's like, man, you know, there were so many people who ended up taking those courses that said that they deserved it and I didn't. But I spent 9 years of my life working with youth in theater and I probably would have been better at it and more comfortable with it if I had just done the thing that I thought was going to be important to me. So don't let people tell you no. That's because Phil didn't, and it took him very far.
Yeah. And it was just amazing. I feel like I kept poking him like, well, tell us what you do. Tell us what you do. Because he does so much. And I love that he was able to more so tell us the lessons that he learned in what he does than specifically telling what he does, because he's been a working professional in nonprofits, like graphic designer, working in marketing, working in theater, working in public works for the Virginia Stage Company, you know, working as a professional cosplayer. Like he mentioned it briefly, but he traveled the world doing cosplay and judging cosplay contests and working with like the gods of our industry, like judging alongside Yaya Han and working, you know, alongside the actors, the producers, the directors of the content that he's representing. So like, as like cosplay goes, like he's made it
Top tier,
god tier. And now he's a consultant. He's a consultant for the brands that we all use. He's that we all use in cosplay. He's a consultant to the business side of it. He's really like just transcended what I think it means to work within that space. So when we're like, no, what do you do? What are you doing? It's like, oh, he does everything, everything. And now like working back with Operation Smile and working so closely to uplift our community. Like he absolutely means it when he rolls in the tide. It's for all of us. And like, again, for me and Kat, who have been mentored by him, like it really is for all of us. So he's just, again, like an amazing human being, an amazing artist, an amazing friend. So, and
it's really flattering to be asked to work with him because we know firsthand what a professional he is and like how quality his content is. So yeah. So we're excited.
I love it. It's so awesome. So awesome. I'm super excited. And y'all just dropped the bombshell on me because I didn't have no knowledge of this. My ates are doing this project. What? So I'm serious, y'all. If I have to drive all the way down, if we can't get we got a lot of videographer friends down there. So please hook up a videographer friend. But if you need me to drive down, I'll drive down. but we need to cover this. I want to make this a ShoPowSho special. And then when he has the Operation Smile rollout with the Jimny and everything, I definitely will come down and, you know, showcase that. Let's shine light on the incredible work he's doing. And I want to blow up and everywhere on our Twitters, Instagrams, our TikToks, the beautiful project that our two Ates are going to be in.
So stay tuned, listeners. Watchers.
And one thing that I realized that he didn't mention was where to find him. Yeah,
it's in the description, everybody. But go ahead and say it. Yeah.
So you can find him on Instagram at Canvas Cosplay. He also has a link tree in his bio with all the other resources and all the other projects that he's affiliated with. So find him on Instagram. He's Canvas Cosplay on Facebook. He's Canvas Cosplay on TikTok. So look him out, check out his work, and just come along for this ride, because it's the tide is rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to also add Odango.com. I think his name is his website, because the Canvas Cosplay, like we were talking, he's Pokemon evolving into just being this artist that is Philip Odango. So I'm not sure how long he's going to keep actually the Canvas Cosplay up. So check him out at Philipodango.com, but it'll all be in the description and everything. Absolutely, so you guys can check him out. Yeah.
Canvas Cosplay was just such a small fraction of everything that he does. So yeah, expect some evolution happening there.
Because he's so amazing. We love him.
He's so awesome.
Yes. All right, Kat, tell us how they can hit us up and all that.
Yeah, so once you follow Philip, you can come follow me. I'm Cataphoric at TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. You all can also follow our ShoPowSho Instagram. We also have a TikTok, and if you wanted to support our show, we have a coffee, and we also have some behind-the-scenes action going on at our Patreon.
Mm-hmm. Like today, we made lumpia. That's like my authentic Filipino family holiday recipe. That's what we did together to celebrate the holidays and to come together as family.
It was delicious.
But you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina, and on Twitter and chess.com at viva_valentina_exo.
Did
Chavi at all hit you up, or is he just not wanting the smoke from from our chess bully?
Oh yeah, so I have yet to bully him on chess.com. The format, I don't know, maybe I'm just unfamiliar with it, but it's very like we both have to be ready when it comes through. So there have been like multiple times where he sent me a request and then it expires, and then I'll send him a request and then it expires. So it's very much like we're trying to link up to play chess, but it's got to be
happen when the stars align.
When the stars align. So, but yeah, no, we've been talking some trash, and I'm still full on to be the chess bully.
That's right. Our girls got you.
Coming for you, Chavi.
Totally.
All right, where can they find you, Patrick?
Where before they can find me, I just real quick, I found you another opponent, by the way. A big-time author who I recently interviewed on the Nerds of Color. His name is Kevin Christopher. He's a comedian, actor. He's right now filming the latest season of the Titans. And I repped you hard. Like, so just like I was totally Kat during our interview. So peep my interview with Kevin Christopher on the Nerds of Color, but he recently wrote a book about chess and strippers because he used to work at a strip club, and he kind of talks about the strip club, but through chess. It's a very interesting book called The Queen's Way. Check it out. I'll get you a copy, Tina and Kat, if you're both interested. Yeah, so great book called The Queen's Way, but I offered him up as an opponent to you, and he was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, do you want the smoke?"
You got to beat him to beat Chavi.
And he's on chess.com too. So I will get you his username, and we're gonna make that happen. So anyway, I was with my girl. I was like, "Yo, you did it with chess book, man. I gotta get my girl on you then." Like, okay, so I want to make it happen.
Can we just? Chess is a muscle that you have to exercise. Okay.
Brush your shoulders off, girl. Stop trying to downplay yourself.
No. We don't downplay. We hype up.
Exactly. We believe in you. We believe in you. Me and Kat got your back.
No walking it back. Full steam ahead.
Yes. Tell them.
They're going to learn a lot about themselves playing.
Yes, there we go. That's
the lesson here with the chess bully.
That's right. Chess is a muscle.
Content for his next book.
Chess is a muscle. You better start doing some push-ups.
Yes. So I love my ates, and I'm gonna keep on serving up chess opponents because we want the smoke.
I love y'all so much.
Love y'all. I am Kuyapi, aka Strange since 1977 at Simple Far East. Follow me at NRW at New Release Wednesday because nerds rule the world, and here at the Nerds of Color ShoPowSho all day, every day with the amazing ates. We love y'all. Mahal kita, salamat.
Mahal kita din.
I am Philip Odango, and I am here at the ShoPowSho. I am bringing it to you live with our ates and our kuya, and I am really excited to tell you about my journey as a cosplayer, as an educator, and now as a teaching artist. I'm thrilled to tell you a little bit more about my journey growing up in the Philippines, becoming an American citizen, and using my experience to help fuel my art. So join us in this conversation as we explore that. I'm going to be showing up, showing out, and ShoPowing. Join us here at the ShoPowSho, and I can't wait to talk to you then. Kamustan mabuhay? I am Philip Odango, and my Filipino heritage means a lot to me because it not only informs who I am as a person and where I came from, but also forms who I am going forward and the person that I'm going to be.